You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Hello everyone and welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I am your host Katrina and with me is my husband Steven.
Hello.
I choked on your name. We just finished episode 31 of Fullmetal Alchemist. Steven, what did you think?
Well, those chess pieces actually came together a little bit. Like, I won't say that we were done. It seemed like we were done setting up the stage and now pushing forward because, whoa, did we get a lot of information. So we start the episode with Mustang and his crew discussing Scar and trying to find him and kind of running back into him and what they're going to do with all that. They're, I guess, on their way because it looked like they were on a train heading that way. And all we really get out of Scar in this episode, which I kind of found interesting, is they just kind of picked up where the last one left off with him in that tent, or seemingly in that tent, and his arms were exposed, and then the guy that he was tracking walked in, saw the markings on his arm, and just kind of gasped, and then that's where they left it. So we didn't get a lot of information on that front in this episode. So that was a chess piece getting moved. So we're going to see where that goes later on. But again, everything else that went on in this episode, there was so much more that they cleared up.
Yeah.
So we find out that the homunculi from the last episode, the one that got out, is someone called Kimberly.
No, he's not a homunculi. Kimberly was the one who was the military dog that took part in the Ishbalan War.
So
the homunculi is the one that Kimberly's working with. His name is Greed.
Okay, so I guess when we were talking about that guy who got out,
yes,
the one that got out was Greed.
Both of them technically were in the exact same prison. And they both got out at the exact same time, but Greed is the one that was inside of the cell that was basically a box that was covered in transmutation circles.
So I guess I got them mixed up because I saw them both and I was like, well, that one looks familiar. And then I thought we were following the other guy with the ponytail. That's Kimberly. That's the
Kimberly
Crimson
has the ponytail. Yes, the
Alchemist.
Crimson Alchemist.
Okay.
Greed wears the sunglasses and has the vest with like the fur on it or whatever.
Okay, so apparently I got their names a little...
That's okay.
Or identities a little flip-flopped. And then even later on, I saw them again when they were on the island, and I thought, okay, so it's cleared up now. I got it. So Kimberly is not a homunculi. He was just an alchemist.
Yes.
Who apparently did what now? Or have they touched on it?
He killed women and children in the Ishbalan War, and then when his higher-ups told him that was wrong and he was going to be tried for it, he killed military members.
Okay.
He basically just wanted to fucking murder people. He is an absolute garbage person.
Did we see him at all in previous episodes? Because I felt like I remembered one episode where they did a flashback and someone was going apeshit ballistic.
Yes, he was the one who stood in the middle of town and just like exploded all the buildings and shit. Yeah. That's
what I was trying to remember, because I remembered that one bit where someone just seemed like they were absolute lunatic.
Yeah,
and did
laughing and carrying on. I think they even showed him like exploding women and children or burning them and shit. Like he was an absolute
garbage,
horrible fucking person.
Okay, well anyway, so Archer and Armstrong recognize him. They kind of call him out, and Bradley seems completely unfazed by this. And boy, we finally got some answers there too, because even at that moment. And now that even kind of puts that into perspective when we go back to the last episode, when we saw Bradley talking to Mustang, it was not a flashback.
Nope.
It was, so should have picked up on it right then and there, and I don't know why I didn't, so that's on me. But we find out that Bradley was envy. And as the fight kind of goes down in the hallway, teacher kicks Ed, which kind of surprised me, but I guess she's more focused on the boy, understandably so. So she kicks him out of the way, and chaos pretty much ensues. The boy is dropped. Bradley goes in and grabs the boy, then takes off in the opposite direction running.
Oh, yeah, I think you looked down right at that point. The child was not dropped. Bradley literally zoomed like from point A to point B in a matter of seconds and yanked him out of teacher's arms.
I must have, because it was just like, did
yes, it was a very fast, like,
yeah, because it was blink of an eye, and I thought, oh shit, I guess she dropped him. So, okay. So Bradley steals the boy, and then the sensei starts fighting Armstrong, and Armstrong does his super fist. But that was pretty cool, just seeing them kind of go at it, because it was almost at a standstill to a point.
Yeah.
And so shows that they're both equally matched in some ways. And he even kind of fakes injury later on, which I didn't quite...
To be fair, he was technically injured. There was a big ass bruise on his side. However, he fakes it on the wrong side to try and keep up appearances in front of Ed and Al. And of course, they call him out on it. Right.
So what we find out about Bradley is that Bradley is envy, and has I'm going to assume every time we've seen Fuhrer Bradley show up and he's kind of seemed calm, cool, and collected, we're probably looking at envy.
No.
No, not all the time.
No, it's...
Perhaps when he shows up at the most opportune moments.
Kind of. Like, it's kind of hard to pinpoint when it's him and when it's not him. But if you notice, like, I was waiting to see if you noticed it on that episode, but when there is that part where, you know, they're Armstrong and Archer are saying to Kimberly, like, you were supposed to be executed, you know, why are you still here? And Kimberly says, why not ask the man standing behind you? And it's Fuhrer Bradley. And if you listen, like, it's very faint, you hear in Envy's voice, well, how am I supposed to know?
Yeah, it did seem like it came off just a little wrong, and I just kind of was like, well, I didn't take note of it that way, but yeah, I did notice that it seemed a little off, and then I was just like, all right, well, maybe it'll all come and make sense, and obviously it did, because we find out it wasn't him at all.
Yeah.
But was Envy feeding that boy the fake stones?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what I wasn't 100% sure at first, but that's what it looked like. So Envy fed the boy the fake philosopher stones, or at least like little shards of it, and started munching on it like candy.
And I mean, in a way, like, they're not the philosopher stone, but they are technically philosopher stones. They're just not pure.
Yeah. And this seemed to awaken something in the boy, and just kind of made him start hallucinating, to the point where Envy kind of pulled the stones back. So like, you can get some later or whatever. And the kid does some sort of alchemy with his leg and grabs the rest of the stones and just like shoves them all into his mouth. And next thing you know, he's hallucinating a whole bunch of shit, and then his eyes go purple and lizardy.
Well, he was remembering.
Right. So, like I said, it unlocked a whole bunch of stuff in his brain. And Kimberly gets out. The little lizard dude kind of scuttles off, but then he is also confronted, or Kimberly is confronted by Archer. Kind of, I don't really know what exactly the conversation, how to describe it. Almost seemed like he was trying to negotiate with him in some way.
Yeah, kind of a, I've heard about you, I know your reputation, and kind of want you on my side, don't want to have to fight against you type thing. Like, so, he literally offered to get him back in the freaking military.
Yeah, which is kind of puts Archer on my watch list of people I'm not 100% sure on. because he seems reckless in a lot of his decision making, as we've kind of pointed out. So Ed and Al kind of run back to the teacher's place to try and find out where she has gone.
Mm-hmm.
But the teacher, Izumi, she actually did find the boy
Mm-hmm.
and saw Bradley's body, or at least she thinks she saw Bradley's body, and decides just to take off. And then, of course, Envy changes into another military soldier and then escapes pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to notice.
Yeah, he's slippery.
But then we find out back at HQ that Archer was kind of looking into Bradley's appearance, and he's getting information that's stating that Bradley was never there.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, that's bullshit because I saw him, so check again, double check. Armstrong kind of comes back, and he's kind of informing everybody where they're at with the boy. Then, again, Ed and Al trying to find out where Izumi would have gone, and they, in that moment, also learn the complete truth about her, what she's done,
Mm-hmm.
and why she is the way she is, or her sins against nature,
Yeah.
if you will. And they realize that she probably went back to the island, which she sent them to train all those years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also where she performed her transmutation and caused her problems. So we got to see a flashback to her dark day.
Yeah.
And this is where things kind of get interesting, because this is where we start to learn the truth about the boy.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually brought him back there to kill him.
Yes.
And this part of his brain that is kind of unlocked is now in a taunting mood, saying, well, go ahead and get it over with. Why don't you just do it? So Ed, Al, and Winry show up. They find her in the spot where everything kind of took place, where she's been. It looks like the boy is getting ready to kill Izumi. So Ed kind of jumps in, ready to save the day, and she stops him dead in his tracks and says, don't you do it. And they're just like, what is going on? Why wouldn't we end it? And she explains that she is responsible for creating this boy.
Mm-hmm.
So she mentions the gate, and that Ed has talked about in the past, seeing the gate when they did their transmutation, and asks what did he see. And apparently they saw two different things. So whereas Ed saw kind of like the infinite knowledge of the universe, as it were, she just saw darkness and a bunch of creepy looking eyes and shit. And they took her baby into the darkness, and you heard it screams and cries and whatnot.
And that was after she had already transmuted it, and it was already deformed.
Yeah, which, yeah, we got to see that, and it was not a pretty sight.
Yeah.
So this infant had apparently stayed in this darkness behind the gate until Ed showed up with his transmutation and got his leg, and then as he stuck his arm through the gate, got his arm. So because of Ed's stupidity, if you will, the boy is alive because of Ed, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, he was able to get out
Right.
because of Ed.
So one person made one mistake, two people making a mistake made a much larger mistake.
Yeah.
And did I hear correctly? Did they give him a name?
Yes.
So he is Wrath.
He is Wrath, which explains why his personality went from that sweet, innocent little boy to just hate-filled. And like you said, like that whole taunting.
Yeah.
Like if you notice with all of the homunculi, because they are based off of the 7 deadly sins. So you have Wrath, which, is the little boy. So he's super fucking angry. You have Envy, which obviously we have not found out yet, you have not found out yet why that is his namesake, like why he is Envy. But you can kind of tell that there's something there, especially when he talks about certain people. Lust, you haven't really seen a lot of like her type of thing, but especially with wrath and greed and gluttony, those three are like the big ones where you can, because greed surrounds himself with pretty women, like you see him sitting in the bar. He, you know, talks about liking to eat, you know, the finest things, drinking the finest things, and all that kind of stuff. That kind of plays into the greed. Gluttony, fucking wants to eat everything all the time. Plays into his namesake. Wrath, angry all the fucking time. And we met another homunculi. She was up there on the island with envy and greed.
You're talking about Sloth?
Yes.
No, wasn't that the secretary?
Yes.
Okay,
but they finally gave her name.
Oh, I thought we
or referred to her
name.
as Sloth. Have we?
I thought we had.
Oh yeah, I think Lust referred to her as Sloth.
Yeah, because when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, Sloth, because I was trying to remember her name or her given homunculi name, but when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, Sloth. So I'm not 100% sure why she's Sloth, though. Maybe because she's slow moving in all of her dealings.
She's really not that slow.
Well, in a manner of speaking, like she's slowly creeping to her goal. Like she's not actively doing what everybody else is doing. She's kind of in the shadows, just waiting, biding her time, but moving chess pieces as it were.
She also, like it has been pointed out in one of the episodes, is the one of the newer homunculi.
And that was another thing I was going to point out too, is that during a conversation that Sloth had with Envy and Greed, I did hear the comment that there were others, as in others who had those names. So there was another Sloth or another Greed or another Wrath at some point in time. So yeah, I kind of took note of that. I thought that was an interesting detail that just kind of casually got dropped in conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they are on the island talking about the boy, trying to get the boy. I'm assuming everybody seems to have an end goal, but they're not all kind of united on that because Greed's like, fuck you guys, I'm out because I don't want to deal with your shit. And Envy and Greed are kind of on, or not Envy. Envy and Sloth seem to be aligned.
Yes.
So they're just trying to discuss what's going to happen. But then we go back to the boy and the trio and everybody, the Wrath. And he explains everything to Ed about how he got the limbs. He also a very interesting detail that also noted was that it seemed that, well, how did he kind of put it? For every life that is taken, another life is created. So by doing what you did, you're trying to bring back a life, but you're only creating a different life. Like
pretty much.
Like
anybody who has ever performed a human transmutation has resulted in a homunculi. Because you're trying to bring back that life, but you can't bring it back. So a body born without a soul in their likeness is what you get in return.
So that also raises more questions about the other homunculi then. So I'm very interested about that.
Where did they all come from?
And I noticed that Wrath kind of, I don't know if this would be their collective name, but he kind of referred to them all as the damned in some ways. So I was curious if that was like their nomenclature for the entire group of what they would be known as. If you were to group them all together, as opposed to saying they're the 7 deadly sins, you could just say they're the damned.
Yeah, I
guess.
Because
this 7 deadly sin thing, it's catchy in its own ways, but I don't really feel like it fits.
And we've met all but one, haven't we? Let's see. We've met Sloth. We have now have Wrath, Envy, Gluttony,
Lust.
Greed, Lust. Yeah. So Pride.
Okay. So I'm sure we'll get around to that.
I know who they are.
Well, of course you do. So the end game here for Wrath seems to be to get all of Ed, not just his arm and his leg, but he wants that whole body. He wants to be
human.
Human. So the episode pretty much ends with him going after Ed, but then Al steps in and he's like, no, you're not going to take my brother. This is everything we've been fighting for, and I'm going to step in. I'm going to take this dude down because I'm not going to let him take away everything that we've been fighting for. And I don't know, to be continued is where it kind of got left off. So the fight's getting ready to begin. So I better see a good throwdown and not just one of these smack right at the beginning and just be like, yep, there we go. Fight's over.
No. Now, I can't remember how the fight plays out, but their fight's not going to end here.
Well, yeah, I would imagine so.
Like, as they've kind of showed with Lust specifically, because she's kind of the only one we've actually seen, you know, get skewered. They don't die very easy. It takes a lot to kill them.
So, I'm trying to think of anything else I wanted to talk about with this episode.
My biggest thing, and I kind of want to point this out with it, is it's something we've talked about before. Through so many types of, you know, storytelling and stuff like that, whether it is superhero, like comic book style to, you know, to Fullmetal Alchemist. So many times people with the best intentions literally create the villain story. And if you think about it, the homunculi, all they want to be is human. They didn't ask to be born. They didn't ask to be, you know, born the way that they are. But humans created them and want to destroy them because, you know, they're bad. But all they want is what they were rightfully owed, which is their soul, and to be able to be a human, not some soulless void.
Yeah.
And the fact that each one of them were humans at one point in time just makes it so much worse. Because they had their lives, they died, even if it was tragic, because Wrath, he never got to live. He literally died when he was born, or before he was born. And she tried to bring him back. But with Izumi, it was different in a sense with Ed and Al. Because Ed and Al, they had the ashes of their mother, which is what they used to try to bring her back. And we saw that it was like a mangled half-person zombie-esque looking thing. Where Wrath, she had the body, she just added a few extra things and it literally reanimated the body. Like, he was a baby, he was alive, he just did not look like her baby. He was, you know, kind of monster-esque. But when she transmuted him again to therefore hand him over to the gate, things stay alive inside of the gate, obviously, because he was alive. And he even said that he grew. And then when he obtained those arms, or the arm and leg, that's how he got out. She is literally his villain origin story. Yeah. Because I feel like that's what that scene in when he's getting his memories back, he sees her. He sees her hand him over to the gate, and as he's going back, he sees his mother sitting there. She gave up her child. So he has every right to be fucking angry.
Sure.
And it's sad. It's so heartbreaking. And it's one of those things that makes me love Izumi, because she loves this child, even though she knows it is not her baby that she would have had. You know, that she had. It's something she created. But not only was she willing to kill him, but at the end of the day, she couldn't, because she realizes he would never be here if it wasn't for her. And it's all her fault. Like, his hatred towards her, she accepts wholeheartedly because she knows she fucked up.
And I think all the revelations with the homunculi, and especially with everything that Wrath kind of laid out, raises more questions for me about the other 6. Who was responsible for their creation? Were they all created in the same way? Or do these bodies, if they're not given back to the gate, where do they go? What happens to them? Which then even raises a bigger question. What about their mom? Yeah, see, I'm doing brain stuff. So I have a theory or two, but I won't say anything because I know you and you have a bad poker face. So I don't want anything spoiled.
I've been waiting for his, like, I don't know, for everything to fall into place and that light switch to go ding over your head. I've been waiting. And not just with that aspect, but I'm not going to say anything other than the homunculi that you think are the most important or anything like that. There's only one that is truly, truly important.
Okay.
And you really don't find out about it until, I'm pretty sure, closer to the end of it.
Okay.
But it just all because like I said, they state that only one of them is like the newest. And you would think it would be Wrath since he is a literal child, but he's not. He was born before Sloth. So which one's the oldest?
I don't know. We'll get
there.
It, yeah.
But that's the thing. Like it's like trying to figure out who the mastermind is behind it. And I don't know. For me, when I watched it, when it all kind of laid out there and it gave you the full freaking story of everything, it was like a gut punch.
All right.
Because like I said, you understand where the homunculi are coming from, at least certain ones of them, especially Wrath. But there is another one where you understand where they are coming from. And I feel like it's good storytelling.
Okay. No. I mean, that's one thing that I've given this show a lot of credit for is great storytelling, and they do it wonderfully, masterfully, if I may say so. So, let's just continue on because I can speculate all day and it's not going to answer anything because I still want to know. I can't imagine that just the two of them are responsible for all of these homunculi. It can't be.
Ed now?
Yeah.
No.
Or even Izumi. Like I said, there's got to be other people who are responsible for doing the same shit they did.
Yeah.
These are just the only two we know about.
And I don't even, like, I know that you find out more about other ones, like how they were created, but I feel like there is at least one or two of them where I don't think you get their full backstory of how they were created. But I know for a fact there is at least 4 of them that you do.
Okay.
Outside of Wrath.
Well, then, let's stop dilly-dallying and just get into it for the next episode. So, as usual, go tell anyone who loves anime, especially Fullmetal Alchemist right now, to go listen to this podcast on the favorite podcasting platforms. Good Pod seems to be a great one to go listen to because they like to support indie podcasters like ourselves. So, go over there and listen there. Give little 5-star rankings just down the line. Make us look good. And you can also listen on YouTube, youtube.com/pencilpaperproductions. You can support the show, patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions. And follow everything at pencilpaperproductions.com/inspired Weeaboo. Links are in the show notes down below.
All right, my little weebs. We will see you next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.